everyone and welcome back to yet another tutorial series on my channel. And in this series we're going to be creating the procedural version of my Python logger module. Last time we created the OOP version, now we're going to create the procedural. So let's just jump straight in. So I've got PyCharm open here. I'm just going to call this project Python logger module proc for procedural. And we're just going to create that. We're going to open it up, create a couple directories real quick, source and logs. There we go. Then we're just going to configure, we're first going to create two files. We're going to call one called main in the source directory and one called logger. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to go up to where it says current file, edit configurations. If you're using a different ID, that's absolutely fine. Don't worry. I need to create debug and production versions so that this code works. The script will be this one, source main. Set that there. Then here, we just want to do debug equals 1, production equals 0. Okay, then we do another one for production mode. Main and debug equals 0, production equals 1, like that, okay? Store that as well. So far, nothing happens. That is fine. We're going to go to main, and we're simply just going to do def main print hello world, just to test everything, make sure everything is set up and working. If underscore underscore name underscore underscore equals underscore underscore main underscore underscore, then we want to run the main function. Okay, run, production mode works, and debug. Oops, stop. Debug also works. Fantastic. Now let's go to the logger file. This is the interesting part, right? This is where we're actually going to write the code. So we got a little bit of setup stuff to do. First of all, let's import inspect and OS. Then from date time import date time, like that, okay? Then we want to set up some kind of enum style things, but because this is procedural, we're not going to be using classes, which means we're not going to use enum. We're going to use just straight up constants, really. Log underscore level underscore all is equal to 0. And I'm just going to copy the end of this here so I can easily do it. High is equal to 1, medium is equal to 2, and low will be equal to 3. Then we will have the same for log type, except this is going to have double underscore to make sure that the developer who's using it knows this shouldn't be used outside of this file or anything like that, or outside of this scope, because it's private. Okay, log underscore type underscore fatal is equal to 0. I'm also gonna copy that there. Error is equal to 1. Warning is equal to 2. Success is equal to 3. And information is equal to 4. Debug is equal to 5. Trace is equal to 6. Fantastic. Awesome. So we got that all set up. So the next thing that we really want to do is create our function that allows us to actually create the instance. So we're going to create a function called def create underscore logger. Okay. We're going to have ident in here, str, like that. So in here, we then want to return a dictionary, and we're going to do that by doing this. So we're going to do id colon ident, comma, and then the next one is toggle underscore file underscore logging, which will be none for now. We're not going to set any default values in the create logger. We're going to do that in the initialize logger function because there's some extra stuff that we want to do, which I liked the idea of separating the create logger and the initialize logger functions rather than having them the same. I could have them exactly the same, but doing that, I want to separate them in case we ever expand this and have it where we need more initialization logic. where this create logger isn't really for initialization logic, it's more just for creating it. That's why I've separated them there. So toggle underscore db underscore logging, again, is going to be equal to none for now. We're going to initialize that and actually set them to false by default when we create the initialize logger function. Then we want to have log underscore level, which is going to be none, because we don't want to initialize anything here. We just want to create the instance. That is it. File underscore path is none as well. And then file underscore logging underscore timestamp. I need to fix that. There we go. We set that to none as well. Literally everything is just none pretty much. So con for connection is also none. And cursor is also none. Perfect. That is fantastic. So now that we have that, this basically just creates the instance for us. So what we can actually do is go inside a main. We'll remove this. And actually first we need to import it. So we're just going to type import logger. Like that, okay? And we just delete this and we just do log underscore 1 is equal to logger dot create logger. And the identifier is logger 1. Okay, like that. We'll create 2. Why not? TWO. And if we actually run our code, it won't do anything. We can test it. It won't do anything yet, but we will have our instances created. So that's pretty cool, right? So now that we have that, let's jump into creating the initialization stuff. So def initialize. I always find it hard to type that word. Okay, then we have logger underscore instance here. So we need the actual logger instance here. Then we're going to have toggle underscore db underscore log. Why can't I? Logging bool. And we'll set equal to false as well. And then same for the file. Toggle underscore file underscore logging is going to be a bool and equal to false by default. So this is where we actually initialize everything, right? So in here we do logger underscore instance, and this is how we access the instance. Slightly different to when we use classes, but it's pretty similar, really. Toggle underscore file underscore logging. Instead of doing self dot, we have to write this whole junk here. But you know what? It is what it is. And we do toggle file logging. I always make that mistake. I always leave the G out. Why? I don't know. And then we can just copy this. I don't want to type it again. We need to get the G in there. db and db here, and then we will do log underscore level, and here we'll do log underscore level all, like that. And here we will also do file underscore path, which is going to be set to log slash. And then after we set the file path, we want file underscore logging underscore timestamp, which is going to be equal to date time.now.strf time, and then the format, which is going to be %, capital Y, dash %, lowercase m, dash %, d, lowercase d. Oops, dash %, lowercase d, like that. And then dash dash % uppercase H, dash % uppercase M, dash % uppercase S. Okay, like that. And now we can simply say if toggle underscore db logging initialize underscore db underscore logger, like that. Okay, and in here we just pass in the logger underscore instance to make sure that it initializes the database on the correct instance, right? Awesome, fantastic, that is great. Now we've got our initialize logger stuff set up. We can actually create our initialize db underscore logger so we can initialize the database, right? taking a logger underscore instance. And in here, we simply want to do import SQLite 3 logger instance con is equal to SQLite3.connect logs/logs.db, like that, okay? And then logger instance again. This time it's going to be cursor, so we want to set up the cursor is equal to logger instance con, so we want to get the connection, dot cursor, like that, okay? And after that, we can do logger underscore instance dot, cursor dot execute. And in the execute, we just do this. Create table if not exists, like that. Logs, we have ID. It's going to be integer, primary key, auto increment. We'll have logger is text, not null. We will have timestamp text, not null. We will have header text, not null. Everything is not null pretty much. And message is text, not null. Like that. Okay. Now that we have that, we can do logger instance con.commit, like that. Perfect. Fantastic. So this is our initialization and setup stuff done pretty much. What we can do now then, so we have a little bit of time left, is set up our utility stuff. So def set underscore log underscore level. So we need to be able to set our log level, right? So logger underscore instance and then log underscore level. Now for this, we would usually use the enum thing, but we're just going to use int because that is the data type that we're currently using, because we're not using any OOP, we're just using straight up data types. So we'll use int for this instead of an object type. Logger underscore instance. We will then do log underscore level, and that is going to be equal to log level, like that. Okay, so we do the same then, set underscore toggle underscore file underscore logging, logger underscore instance, toggle is equal to, oh no, toggle is of type, if I can do it, bool. And in here, we would simply just do logger instance toggle underscore file underscore logging is equal to toggle, like that. And we would do the same for database, so we can just copy it and just do the same, replace file with db, db, like that, okay? And next, I think this is the last one, which is the file path, so set underscore file underscore path, logger underscore instance. We always need that instance on every function. It's basically, instead of doing self, we also need the file underscore path, which will be a string. So in here, we just do logger instance again, file underscore path like this is equal to file path like that. Fantastic. That is all done. So we have successfully got our structure all set up. Oops. All set up and ready to go. Next time, what we can actually do is create our fatal error warning success information debug trace functions, and maybe if we have time, we'll get onto the log function as well. So super great work. Very well done, everyone. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.